Most children are fascinated by castles, really on the basis of knights in armour and dungeons and dragons. But for me, I'd visited Baltersan Castle at the age of 5, and I was so disappointed because there was such a lot missing. It's sad to see ruins, they're not romantic. So I vowed at that age to restore one, not to appeal to people and say, oh, why is it not restored? Well, do it yourself. And that's what I tried to do. I've sold my baby. This is sort of a child I raised for 32 years, and I sold this wee thing. Well, it's a big thing in some ways, but I've sold something that I've been passionately attached to for 32 years. You could go on too long at this, and people would then start to look at you as saying, dreamer, fantasist, he'll never get there. And that's not a nice feeling. Because essentially it's in the same, not quite the same state, but almost the same state as when I bought it. All I've done is clear the insides, and I've moved, as I say, 1,000 tons of earth and stone sideways. No stones have gone up, some more have fallen down.
Just look up and you realise that up there, slowly, the weather.
Today, totally overgrown. It's gone back to nature. So in some ways, yes, it's back to when I bought it in 1992. And that's rather sad.
My goodness. Wow.
So it's been a long journey, really, too. In some ways you feel you've failed because you haven't achieved the main object. But in other ways it's not a failure. You know, ruined buildings in Scotland are like wallpaper. People don't notice them. And they say things like, oh, I like it the way it is. They're used to seeing ruined castles. Now, for people to say today, I like it the way it is, well, enjoy it, because it won't stay that way for much longer. There are three kinds of people in this world. The folk that make things happen, the folk that watch things happening, and the third category is the people that say, oh, what happened? I didn't want to in that last category, and I wasn't comfortable enough to sit in the category that watches things happen. I wanted to make things happen. And I have to a degree, not to the high degree that I would aspire to, but I've achieved something. Restoration is putting back, restoring something. So you find a piece of carved stone lying on the ground, and you look at it and you look up at the building and say, ooh, that came from up there, so we shall restore it.
My memory of this place is it was buried completely to about this height. Completely buried in sand and guano and weeds and so on.
They call it overburden, you know, and 250 years of weeds that grow and die and so on. I've done it single-handedly, as simple as that.
And this very spot is memorable because it's where the last barrow load was taken from here when I cleared this place right down to ground level. And I have a nice photograph with the sun shining in on the wheelbarrow, like a little angel shining on my friend, the wheelbarrow.
But the joy of that work is I'm the one who made the discoveries. I found the coins, I found the broken pots that tell a story, the broken wine bottles that tell a story.
Let's see what I've got. Ah, yeah, beauty. That is an 18th century wine bottle.
If anybody saw me, they'd think, who is this guy? He's eccentric. This businessman wandering through a field, he must be lost. or he's lost his mind. However, it all adds to the story. You're building up a story of why these buildings were built, who built them, and what is the history behind them. Why did they all fall into ruin? I've discovered all of these, and they all tell a story. Discovery is an important word in this journey. I've had the joy of discovery. You might think, what, digging in an old ruined building?
The most memorable thing is one of the smallest things that I found. We have all these wonderful big stones, the wonderful archways in this place, but it was a little piece of plaster with a star scraped into it, a graffito, and it just looked like a child's work. These small things, they're personal. You're touching something somebody touched 400 years ago. Having mentioned finding these little treasures, a bit of plaster, a clay pipe bowl, an old coin, but in fact I actually found a wife through this castle. Amazingly. I was contacted by Susie. She was a journalist with the local newspaper, and she asked to do an article on Baltersan, and because I'd sent her drawings and material for her article, I do calligraphy as a hobby, or have done in the past, calligraphy, and she was entranced with this calligraphy, and that led to a date, and that led to a marriage. So yes, you could say in fact that greater than the treasure of clay pipe bowls and clay plaster work, finding a wife through a ruined castle is the better phrase.
It would be nice if people recognise what I've done. And it is nice to see one's name appearing. I've just received a book, and so I open up the book and there in the acknowledgements, there's my name, because I helped her get research material. So I'm already having that sort of impact, and it's nice. You're not buying it, you're earning it. I think looking to the future and looking backward, being in the future and looking backward long after I've gone, people will write down, I would hope, James Brown saved Baltersan. And I think that'd be good. Obviously I'm not around to see it, but perhaps my daughters and my grandson and granddaughter and great-granddaughter, perhaps they'll look upon it and say, I wish I'd realised that about great-granddad. I think that'd be a nice legacy.